Welcome back to Madam Crossing New Horizons. I'm dear darling. Shall we see what's going on our lovely island of Fawnhollow today? Oh my god, what's happening with my throat? She's definitely coughed, I think, probably before the episode started, but cleared my throat, I suppose, before the episode actually started. But here we go anyway. Here we go, yo. Here we go, yo. What's a scenario, as they often say, and by often, they often say, I mean, I often say all the time for really no apparent reason. Yeah, what should we talk about today? I mean, we could continue a holiday talk. I don't remember. What did I talk about yesterday? I honestly can't remember, but good evening, everyone. Right now in Fawnhallow, it's 11:08 PM on Tuesday, September 26, 2023. What did I talk about yesterday? I don't really remember what I spoke about. Old wars, hold on, I'm scrolling through a photo album. It's going to prompt me. I'm going to see it and be like, yeah, this is it. This is my moment. My moment. I don't really know. I'm looking. There's so many photos on this damned wall. Oh, did I talk about false perspective? That seems about right. Oh yeah. I mean, this isn't going to get its own like entire episode, I think, talking about this. So it was really random, but you know, that part we went to where, you know, we were taking photos of the sun or whatever. For whatever reason, you know, we walked a bit more forward, and there was just like a children's like play park, not like a huge one, mind you. It had some things which I can't remember. I think maybe like things like ties in the ground, but I don't think there were ties in the ground. And it had like a metal climbing frame, and that was it. And then you literally walk like 5 meters onwards, and there's just like ruins of a castle, I suppose, right next to it. Heavily graffitied ruins of a castle, mind you, and definitely in disrepair. And probably not really castle, ruins of some sort of wall. I don't necessarily know how ancient they are. Probably not that ancient if I would have to guess, otherwise they might have been preserved as a heritage site, but it's just very funny, I think. And to have something, you know, so recreationally fun for a child, you know, like a playground. And juxtaposed, I suppose, to the, you know, the ruins of, I was going to say civilization that once were, but that's perhaps a bit too extreme, of you know, walls in general, I suppose, just right next to it. It's a very interesting juxtaposition. Yeah, I don't know. What else happened that day? We ordered some food and we took it back. Oh, I was meant to go to House Island. We took it back and we had that as like a takeout. You know, takeout on holiday is not something which you have all the time, I suppose. Well, I don't know. It kind of depends. Takeout on holiday. Are you like a yay or you a nay person for takeout on holiday? I'm like a sparingly sort of person, you know. I understand the need for it. You know, sometimes you'll have activities where it's like it's really difficult, or maybe you like land super late and it's really difficult to get a meal, I suppose, within that timing, because, you know, the timing just like doesn't work out. Things aren't open. Fast food places, or like these small corner shop-esque street food. No, I'm not sure street food's the right word. Places are quite convenient, I suppose, to get a meal and that sort of thing. But it's interesting, you know, certainly with my friends, we get, you know, like a takeout-esque meal far more frequently than with my family. Like when I go on family holidays, we basically like never have takeout meals, mainly because no one in my family really likes takeout. The only times we have takeout tend to be like before going on a holiday, or no, generally it's coming back from a holiday, you know, when you got like no food in the fridge and it's like we should have a meal. Why don't we stop at McDonald's or KFC or something like that? So we'll have like for a family holiday, take out a total of like once. But with my friends, you know, it's more often, not like huge amounts of times. Like I can't think of a holiday I've been on with my friends where we've had it like every single day. That seems a bit excessive. Actually, there was one time we went to Wales where I think we had it most evenings, but you know. That's just because, like, I suppose it's also in Wales. It's not like we were you know, it's not too different from, it's still in the UK for one, so it was an in-house holiday, so I suppose we weren't really seeking out like novel experiences with restaurants, etc, etc. Yeah, so we went to, I can't remember where we went to. It was just like this random like chicken shop, I think, and we just like bought a load of food from there and just like took it home, and you know, that's it. Some people also had like leftovers from the lunchtime meal that day as well, but it's really interesting. You know, I feel kind of bad because I think we ordered like 9 things. You know, whenever you have a large group coordinating like these large orders of food, it must be very annoying. But we were like the only customers, I suppose, there at the time. So it wasn't that crazy. We were just sort of like chilling, that sort of thing. I remember the cars honking like crazy, honking their horns like crazy, because as the aforementioned wedding was happening. Again, I don't know if it was a particularly famous wedding or particularly noteworthy people. Oh, no, Celeste is here. We haven't got a message about it, but we'll have to pass by Amelia's house just to check. Yeah, I forgot what I was saying. What was I saying? I genuinely forgot. Oh yeah, we were like, people were honking horns like crazy. I remember too, like, other tourists came in, English speaking tourists. I don't know if they were English necessarily, I can't remember what their accents were off the top of my head, but they came in and they were like asking the people about the horns, and then like the cashier, I suppose, was very nice and explaining. It was like, oh yeah, it's because there's a wedding going on. That's, you know, how I knew that the horn honking was due to a wedding in the first place. I was like, whoa, crazy. I remember two of my friends also bought like this orange juice, or was that an orange soda? I don't know. I didn't even try it, I'm going to be honest. From like one of the supermarkets, and it had let's say a rather suggestive image of a woman on front, as I suppose it's advertising, you know, which is like, you know, European advertising goes like crazy sometimes. I cannot remember off the top of my head what its brand was. In my mind it was something like Betty, but it wasn't Betty. It was, I don't know, but that memory comes to mind. You know, they bought that. They also bought some arancini, I think. I can't remember what else happened. But yeah, I don't know. It's basically we were like at the equivalent of like a kebab house, a kebab shop. You know, Boss Man, as you might. Well, I think Boss Man's actually corner shops, but whatever. We were like at the equivalent of a kebab house, just ordering like food which I would be like, yeah, this is sort of like food I would have after like a drunken night out, I suppose, in university time, rather than something I would have now. Not that I have anything against it, because it's relatively cheap from what I recall. And the convenience factor is a huge part of it, I suppose, in the first place. But again, I guess it's kind of like that weird sort of liminal feeling. I also feel like originally that day we were going to go to this somewhat fancy restaurant. It was not like crazy fancy or anything. It was sort of like a mid-tier restaurant, I suppose, in terms of fanciness, which we eventually did go to later on in the holiday. But we were going to go to that one. Like, it was like 13 of us originally going, but then, you know, people were too tired and that sort of thing. So you know, we were just like, okay, let's just like cancel that booking, and let's just like order takeout and go home. To be fair, I suppose we did spend the morning walking around the old town of Dubrovnik, but yeah, I don't know. Oh, we ended up on the Star Fragment Island. I should not pick up the yellow fragments. We do not need the yellow fragments. And yeah, it was just, I don't know. So yeah, as I was saying, are you like a yay takeout on holiday or nay takeout on holiday? I'm very much in the camp of, oh, interestingly, it's given us a duplicate recipe. I'm very much in the camp of, I try not to have takeout as much as possible, and if I do want to have takeout, then it's like only really for the novelty, I suppose, of it in the first place. I'm trying to think of a good example. It's novelty or convenience. Like the times we were on a holiday in Wales, we had takeout because it was just convenient. Like we spent the day doing stuff and we come back home, and then we're like at the hotel picking up our food or whatever. Did we do it in Spain as well? I think we also did it once in Spain, or maybe twice. I can't remember. Where we, oh my god, like I know this is a Spain anecdote, which I think I actually spoke about. But we ordered from this restaurant. I can't remember what sort of restaurant it was, but they had things which were like mini pizza wrap-esque things, kind of like mini calzones. But I don't think they were considered calzones. I can't remember what they were called. I don't think they were empanadas, but they might have been called empanadas. I remember I was also the one to pick it up because I lost the rock, paper, scissors game. But anyway, the long and short of it is I remember ordering it. We all ordered like 4 different, it was like a meal deal sort of thing, 4 different types of like empanada or a calzone-esque filling things, and then we got like 4 boxes of them, but they're all mixed up and we're just like, we don't know which one's which, and then we just spent like a lot of time just like biting into them, like observing them, being like, okay, this is what we think is this, and we tried to like trade them around, and we eventually still got things wrong, and it wasn't until we finished the meal that one of my friends like looked at the top of the lid of a box and noticed, oh, they wrote down what each of the flavours and fillings were on the top of a box. on the top of a box, on the top of the inside of a box, not just like the top of the outside of a box. So that was a very funny, I suppose, takeout story. So I suppose if we didn't have takeout on holidays, we wouldn't have those sort of stories. Actually, there's another story in Spain as well. I can't remember where this one was. That one was in Barcelona, I think. And I think in my head, the place we ordered from was something like Gino's tortilla rolls. I don't know, Gino's rolls or something like that. I'm going to Google it and see how crazy my memory is. Gino pizza roll. Was it Barcelona? I think it was Barcelona. Is this it? Is it just called Gino's? Gino's Ristorante? Ristorante? I don't know if that's right. It doesn't look right. Yeah, it doesn't look right, but whatever. Turns out my memory not that crazy. I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, there was another time in Spain. I cannot remember where it was, but we ordered takeout as well because we basically turned up at campsite really, really late. A lot of times we ended up arriving at campsites quite late in the first place. It was sort of just like, it's because we spend the day doing something and then in the evening we drive to the next place. So oftentimes we turn up at like a really late time. And I remember one of the times we ordered, and I can't remember what we ordered burritos, but of course it was in Spanish or whatever, like a delivery, like even the interface was in Spanish, and we were just like guessing, we were like translating, trying to figure out what to actually do to select our burritos so we get the fillings we want. I remember, and then somehow we accidentally did it. So we chose our fillings of, you know, I chose like, for example, like chicken and cheese and something else or something. But as it turns out, none of those burritos by default came with like any like lettuce or salads, like we thought they did. Because I don't know how we came to that conclusion necessarily, but we thought it did, or maybe they didn't. We ordered weirdly and they were just like, oh, these people only want like rice, chicken and cheese. So we ended up having burritos just with no vegetables in them whatsoever. And it was so dense. It was just like, my one was like a wrap, rice, chicken, cheese. It was one of the densest burritos I've ever had, which anything probably was a good thing because we did a lot of walking that holiday, so maybe I did need the carbs, I don't really know. A bit backloaded throughout the holiday rather than something spread out more sensibly, but still. It was very, very funny. So yeah, I guess if we didn't have takeout in holidays, we wouldn't have those funny moments where it's just like, oh, we completely messed up the order or whatever. We also had a decent amount of like fast food, like McDonald's, because my friends wanted to try, I think I said this before, try McDonald's in like different countries and stuff like that. Interestingly enough, there weren't, at least in Dubrovnik, there isn't a lot of fast food places. Because I remember my friends looking up and being like, there's no KFCs, like McDonald's, Burger King, etc., etc. I'm not sure necessarily how true that is. I didn't bother to verify because I was not particularly enthralled with the idea of getting McDonald's or anything like that. I like to try and get local food where possible. I know that's unreasonable, and I know that's definitely not always the case. And I know I'm not even that like motivated by food, so it feels like a bit of a weird thing to like hang my hat on, I suppose, in terms of a holiday. Okay, I got bored of sitting here waiting for shooting stars, seeing as we're going to get shooting stars back on our main line anyway. But this is something I try to do, and I don't necessarily disparage you, but you know, the opposing point of view of getting takeout food, I suppose, on holiday. It's convenient, it's cheap, and you know, it's comfortable. It certainly depends, I suppose, on your relationship with food and how much effort you are willing to put in. And I'm a weird combination where I'm willing to put in a lot of effort. I'm not very picky when it comes to food, so I think it lends well to going out to eat a lot of the time. But I'm also quite not nonplussed. I keep using nonplussed in the American way, which means like not bothered, but nonplussed actually means confused in UK parlance and British parlance. Yeah, but like, I forgot what I was going with this, like takeout on holiday. I'm trying to think of like my trip to Japan, because that was like one of the longest trips I had. It was like 3 weeks in Japan, a week in Korea. How often we had fast food. I know we had fast food a few times where, you know, I'm in favour of getting fast food a few times when it's like trying the fast food, or if it like situation calls for it. Like in South Korea, we were like, hey, like this is like reasonably popular fast food like chain called Lotteria, which we've never heard of before. Why don't we try it? And we did try it, and it just turns out the chips are absolutely amazing in Lotteria, like top tier fast food chips, because you get like spices with them. So we had it a couple of times. I don't think we had it that often. Excuse me, I've got like a bit of a sniffly nose. And we definitely had KFC one time in Korea, because I think my friend wanted to try like the double down burger, which was not a thing I think previously in the UK, but was a thing in Korea. It was very strange. I think ordering it, and we might have tried McDonald's, but I honestly don't remember. Yeah, so I guess like my favour for going for like fast food or takeout, I suppose, in another country is trying their equivalent chains. I know at the end of the day it's all rather meaningless because like what does it matter if I order, you know, food from Lotteria or McDonald's? It's not like it's particularly culturally irrelevant. You might argue, I don't know, maybe South Koreans would argue otherwise, in which case fair enough. But it's not necessarily like representative of South Korean food, which feels like the major justification of the reason of going out to eat food in the first place is like, hey, because I want to try local cuisine. But I understand the convenience behind it, and I understand, I suppose, the inherent hypocritical viewpoint, I suppose, which is baked into that. I don't really have much else to say in my defense. It's just sort of like, I guess it's just who I am. I must imagine tends to be caused by like, you know, upbringing, that sort of thing. Like whenever we went out on family holidays, we would always like try and get like local food, I suppose, to eat and that sort of thing. So maybe that probably just influences like a lot of my decisions, you know, like a nature versus nurture thing. And I think nurture does play a big part, I think, in shaping your personality or shaping your attitudes towards things. And certainly, I think it would shape mine with going out to eat, because that's just what my family would do. Even on, like, long trips to China. It would very, very rarely, like, I remember, I can't remember which trip to China it was. I think it was when I was 10, so it was quite a long one, like, over summer holidays, for about a month or so. We'd basically go out to eat at like restaurants most days, and very, very rarely we had takeout. I can only remember twice we had takeout. The other times we'd either go out to eat. If we weren't going out to eat, then we would buy food and cook food like here, or we'd kind of have takeout where it's just like we're going to like the shopping centre and we might get some like food court food, which is kind of takeout-ish, and it feels like a different sort of category. The only time I can remember getting like fast food takeout, because to be fair, fast food isn't that popular, at least back in my day. 16 years ago that is crazy. But 16 years ago when the fast food was a thing, you know, there was still McDonald's, KFC's, etc. in China, but they weren't like supremely common. I think they're very, very much seen as like a Western, it is a Western import, I suppose, but very much seen with that, because China has a lot of like cheap, I mean, like fast food was more expensive than the like cheap street food you can get in China in the first place. A lot of food in China is very, very cheap. But the only time I can remember having fast food in China was one time going to pizza. This might be an informative moment, I think about it, going to Pizza Hut with my father. I don't remember why. It must have probably been something like I really was craving like fast food or something, and I was like, please can we go to like Pizza Hut or something, and we had it. I remember my father being like, he's a very stern person, so he gives off the impression that he's annoyed, but he's not actually annoyed. But I remember just like we ordered a pizza. It was a square pizza, and I thought it was novel, and I was just eating it, and he was like, how is it? And I was like, it's okay. And then he was just like, you know, this is why I'm just like, we shouldn't go to these places to eat food. This is food you can eat at home. And then I think that's probably like unintentionally ingrained itself in me, where it's like, oh yeah, this is food I can get at home, despite the fact that probably it was something I was craving at the time. It's now something which is locked into my brain. It's like, there's no point getting this, because, you know, you don't even find it all that great in the first place, and something you can get at home. So, you know, I don't know, maybe that ended up suppressing cravings of these sort of things. But the more I speak about it, the more it seems like a sad story. I didn't mean it as a sad story. I suppose it just like was a thing which had unintentional consequences for my father. My father's a very logical person, I suppose, so I'm surprised. I'm not going to blame him for taking that viewpoint. I remember feeling really bad about it in the moment, though. Just being like, I can't believe, you know, why would I order why would we go here to order this pizza? And you know, classical younger me feeling shameful, perhaps too much self-consciousness over, you know, feeling bad for things which genuinely didn't need to. I'm sure my father didn't probably care. Probably was just like, hey, you know, there's a lot of good food here in China. You know, there's not really much need, I suppose, to go to Pizza Hut to eat it. We need to clear out our inventory. We have far too many star fragments. So yeah, I don't know. That sort of thing is sort of baked in my memory. That very mediocre mozzarella square pizza from Pizza Hut, which is, I'm going to be honest, was not even very good. And it was expensive, is a thing that I recall mostly from that. It was surprisingly expensive. I don't remember, obviously, because I was like 10. I don't remember the prices off the top of my head. But anyway, We had a lot of good food in China, so, you know, I'm not going to blame past me for being like, can we have, like, some pizza or something? I remember going to this, like, buffet thing and being like, no, throughout our entire holiday, being like, I'm really craving, like, spaghetti. Like, just, like, a good old spaghetti bolognese. But, of course, you know, spaghetti bolognese is not particularly common, I would say, in China. And then us going to, a fancy buffet area, which was just like a global buffet with like cuisines from all around the world, and being like, well, we finally have spaghetti here. We went to like the Italian one, and we asked like the servers like, oh, where's Italian mian, which is like Italian noodles, I suppose, which is what you call spaghetti in Chinese. And she pointed at it, and I can't remember what it was. It was like some fettuccine or something. Like, and me just being so disappointed because it wasn't spaghetti bolognese, one of the most basic dishes. Anyway, nowadays I suppose I'm not really like that, but you know, I don't blame my younger self for wanting things like that. Sometimes you want a comfort food, you know. Being in a new location on holiday, it's an exhilarating time, of course, but it can also be kind of stressful at the same time, you know. Sometimes you want something to remind you of home. That homesickness is a very real feeling, and sometimes you just want more comfort, and sometimes you don't care. Who am I to? You don't need to justify yourself, I suppose, is basically long and short. Anyway, so Takeout on holiday, I guess, is the conversation for today. But I'm going to wrap this episode up here. So if you have been watching, thank you very much. It's been Animal Crossing New Horizons. I've been Darling. Likes, comments, subscription, shares, greatly appreciated. So socials down below. I hope we can see each other again. But for now, it's our farewell. So until next time, bye bye for now.